Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are opening a door that a lot of people try to keep double locked. We're talking about the house.
Mm.
Specifically, we're talking about that moment when the house, the one you spent 20 years filling with memories and, maybe a little too much stuff in the attic, starts to feel less like a sanctuary.
And more like a burden. It's the D word, downsizing.
Right. And be honest, when I say downsizing, what is the visceral reaction? It's usually negative.
Oh, absolutely. It feels like a retreat,
No.
like loss.
It feels like you're admitting that the big part of your life is over, and now you have to, I don't know, shrink. You picture a dumpster in the driveway and fighting over who gets grandma's china.
It's the narrative of loss. That's the cultural script we've all been handed. But the research we have in front of us today, which is incredibly detailed, by the way, it completely challenges that.
It really does. We're looking at a deep stack of market intelligence from the SIR team. For context, they operate right in the heart of the Pennsylvania and Delaware markets.
Chester, Delaware, Montgomery counties, and Newcastle County in Delaware.
And they don't even use the word downsizing.
No, they refuse to. They call it right-sizing.
Which at first, it sounds a little bit like marketing spin, right?
A little bit. But as you dig into their data, you realize it's actually a much more accurate description of what's happening. The core idea here is that if you do this intentionally, it is not about having less.
It's about liberation.
Liberation is a heavy word for real estate, but I think the analogy they use just sets the stage perfectly. They ask you to think of your house not as a destination, but as a vehicle.
I love this analogy. Let's unpack it.
Okay, so imagine you're 35 years old, you've got 3 kids, a dog, you coach soccer, you buy a minivan.
The perfect vehicle for that stage of life.
Exactly. It holds the gear, it holds the screaming toddlers, it does the job. But fast forward 20 years, the kids are gone. The dog is gone. You are still driving the minivan.
You're driving a suburban assault vehicle just to pick up a quart of milk.
Exactly. And you're not just driving it, you're maintaining it. You're paying for the gas, the insurance, the repairs on a vehicle designed for a mission you are no longer on.
So the question they pose is this vehicle still serving you?
Or are you serving the vehicle?
That is the hook. Are you serving the house? I think if you're honest with yourself, you might look at your weekends cleaning gutters on a second story you never even go into.
Heating rooms that are basically just climate-controlled storage units.
And you realize, I work for this building.
And that is where right-sizing clicks. It's about matching the vehicle to your current reality. But, and this is a big but, the mechanics of actually doing that in the current market, especially looking at late 2025 into early 2026, they're complex.
It is not as simple as sticking a sign in the yard. So our mission today is to move beyond the emotional stuff and really look at the hard math. We're going to ask the questions nobody thinks to ask.
Until it's too late. The questions that actually save or cost you tens of thousands of dollars.
Let's jump right in. Section 1, the financial reality check. Because the sources start with something that seems so basic, but it trips everyone up. Gross versus net.
This is the classic Zestimate trap. You look at an app, the algorithm says your house is worth $750,000, and you mentally spend it.
Oh, yeah. You think, great, I'll sell this, buy a place for $500,000, and pocket $250,000 in cash?
But the bank account doesn't work like the algorithm. Not even close.
So the SIR team lists this as question 1. What will you actually walk away with?
You have the mortgage payoff, sure. But let's talk about Pennsylvania transfer taxes. This is a big one people forget. In PA, it's typically 2% of the sale price.
And that's usually split, right? 50-50.
Right. So on a $700,000 house, that's $7,000 from your pocket just in tax.
Gone, before you even pay anyone else.
Then you have inspections, repairs. But the part that really struck me was what they call landing costs. You might sell a big house to save money, but have you calculated the burn rate of the new place?
This is so crucial. If you move from a township with low taxes to a place with high taxes, or you move into a community with a steep HOA fee,
your monthly payment might actually go up, even with a smaller house.
you can't just look at the price tag.
No, you have to look at the carrying cost. But frankly, those are just line items. There's a much bigger, much scarier financial idea in this deep dive. It's question 7, the cost of staying.
Oh, this is the one. This is the one we all ignore because we tell ourselves that staying put is free.
My mortgage is paid off. It costs me nothing to live here.
That is the single most dangerous lie in homeownership.
Because staying is never free.
Never. The bill just doesn't come every month. It comes in lump sums. If you live in a 30-year-old house, you are sitting on a ticking clock of capital expenditures. The roof has a lifespan. The HVAC,
The windows, the driveway, everything.
if you stay for another 5 or 7 years, the odds are 100% you will eat one of those major costs.
And that's just maintenance? What about the equity? I thought the dead money concept was fascinating. This is the economist in me getting excited. It's all about opportunity cost. Let's say you have a paid-off house worth $800,000.
Okay.
That is 800,000 girls of wealth just sitting in drywall and timber. It is earning you 0%.
It's lazy money.
It's unemployed money. Now imagine you sold that house. You take that $800K and put it into a completely safe vehicle, a high-yield savings account paying, say, 4 or 5%.
That money is now generating, what, 30, 40,000 a year?
32 to 40,000 a year in cash income.
Wait, hold on. That's a salary. That is a significant amount of money just for letting your equity exist in a bank instead of a basement.
Correct. So when people say, I can't afford to move, the counterargument is, you might not be able to afford not to move. Every year you stay, you are giving up that 40 grand in income, plus paying taxes, plus risking a $15,000 roof.
The cost of staying is massive. It's just invisible until you actually do the math. Okay, another money myth from the sources. Renovations. Question 4. I feel like HGTV has ruined all of us. Everyone thinks you have to put in a gourmet kitchen.
And for the demographic we're talking about, people in their home for 30 years. This is huge anxiety. They look at their oak cabinets from 1998 and think, nobody will buy this. I have to drop $50,000.
And the Sear team says, don't do it.
They say, be very, very careful because of the price ceiling. Every neighborhood has a maximum value. It doesn't matter if you install solid gold faucets. If the nicest house on the street sold for $600,000, your house isn't going to sell for $7,000.
So if you spend $50,000 on a kitchen in a neighborhood that's already capped out, you're just donating that kitchen to the buyer.
You are literally writing a check for the next owner's enjoyment. The data says a refresh is almost always better than a renovation.
Like new carpet, fresh paint, modern light fixtures.
Exactly. Spend 10 grand to make it look bright and clean. You might get 30,000 in perceived value. That's an ROI.
So the advice is, don't guess. You need someone who actually knows the buyer pool for your specific street.
Precisely. Don't renovate for a magazine. Renovate for the market.
Okay, before we pivot to the actual communities, we have to mention taxes. Question 6.
This is critical for long-term owners in Chester and Delaware counties because values have just skyrocketed. You bought for $150,000, now it's worth $850,000.
That is a huge gain, and Uncle Sam wants his cut.
He does. The capital gains exclusion is $250,000 for a single person, $500K for a married couple. If your profit is more than that, you owe tax. But, and this is key, capital improvements increase your basis.
So if you added a deck, or finish the basement,
or replace the roof, those costs can lower your final tax bill.
but you need to figure that out before you list, so you're not scrambling for receipts from 1995 while you're packing boxes.
Yes. Okay, let's move from theory to the ground game. I want to talk about what right-sizing actually looks like in this market, because the data on specific communities is where the buy a smaller house idea gets really complicated.
It's not just about square footage.
Not at all. Let's look at Hershey's Mill in Westchester. It's a staple of the area, a gated 55-plus community.
It's huge. It's practically its own town.
It is, and that's where buyers get tripped up. Hershey's Mill isn't one neighborhood. It's a collection of over 20 distinct villages, and the price spread is wild. $300,000 up to over $850,000?
But the real trap isn't just the sticker price.
No, it's the monthly carry. The HOA fees vary by village. The notes highlight Quaker Village, where the fee is around $596 a month.
Okay.
But then you look at Glenwood Village, and it's over $880 a month, plus a master association fee on top of that.
So you could buy a cheaper house in a high-fee village.
And your monthly check, the actual money going out the door, might be higher than if you bought the more expensive house in the low-fee village.
You cannot shop by list price alone. You have to shop by total monthly cost.
That is the hidden detail that will bite you. Now contrast that with Belmont over in Garnet Valley.
This is a great counterexample. It's newer, and the notes say it has a Gold Star-rated HOA. What does that actually mean?
It's a financial health rating. It means the HOA has properly funded reserves. They aren't going to hit you with a surprise $10,000 special assessment next year because the clubhouse roof caved in and they have zero savings.
That's huge for peace of mind. And the fees are lower there.
significantly. Around $250 to $266 a month, the price point is in the mid-500s. And there's a little geographical hack here, too.
You're right on the Delaware border.
Tax-free shopping, 5 minutes away. If you're retired on a fixed income, buying everything tax-free adds up to real savings over time.
Okay, now for the person who's thinking, I don't want someone else's old carpet or weird wallpaper, there's the new build option. Preserve at Marsh Creek.
Yes, this is a Toll Brothers community. Prices from about $580 up to almost $750. The appeal is obvious. Warranties, everything is new.
But don't you usually pay a huge premium for that new car smell?
Usually, yes. But the market right now has these weird pockets of opportunity. The data mentions one unit that sold with a $75,000 incentive.
$75,000, that is a massive discount. Why would a builder do that?
It's corporate pressure. Publicly traded builders like Toll Brothers have quarterly goals for Wall Street. If they have a quick delivery home sitting there at the end of a quarter, they need it off the books.
So if you're a buyer with flexibility, if you can move fast,
Yeah.
you can leverage that corporate deadline.
Exactly. A private seller isn't going to drop their price 75 grand just to close by Tuesday. A corporation might.
Okay, so we've covered the where, now the how, because this is the number one thing that stops people cold. The fear of, I'll sell my house and have nowhere to go.
The homelessness fear. It is very real. Inventory is tight. Nobody wants to be living in their daughter's basement.
So the SEER team proposes a strategy that completely removes this pressure. They call it the bridge strategy.
Yeah.
And it involves renting.
I know. I can hear the listeners recoiling. I've owned a home for 40 years. Why would I throw money away on rent?
It feels like a step backward, like failure.
But look at the math, not the emotion. You sell your home. You cash out that equity. Let's say you net $500,000. You put that money into a high-yield account at, say, 5%. That money is generating $25,000 a year in interest.
Okay, so that interest income is paying a huge chunk of your rent.
Right. You're not spending savings on rent. You're letting your equity pay the rent. And what does that buy you? It buys you a gap year.
A gap year. I like that.
You can just exhale. You can explore different neighborhoods. Maybe try the condo lifestyle for a year and realize you absolutely hate sharing walls. Wouldn't you rather know that before you buy the condo?
That's a great point. It removes the gun from your head.
Yeah.
You aren't making a six-figure decision under duress.
Precisely. In this market, the buyer with the most patience wins. If you're renting, you can wait for that perfect property or that builder incentive. You are a sniper, not a target.
Okay, but what if someone just refuses to rent? They want to buy, the old debate. Sell first or buy first?
Well, if you have the cash to buy first, that's obviously the easiest. But most people have their wealth tied up in the old house, so they have to sell first.
Which brings back the fear of that timing gap.
But here's a data point from the SEER team that should calm some nerves. Their listings average 5 days on the market.
5 days.
5. That means the risk isn't, can I sell my house? You will sell your house. The risk is just the timing. So the strategy is to sell first.
And why does that put you in a better position?
Because you become a non-contingent buyer. You walk into a negotiation with cash in the bank, you're powerful. If you walk in and say, I'll buy your house, but only if I sell mine first, the seller just sees risk. They'll pick the cash buyer every time.
So where do you sleep in between?
You negotiate a rent back. It's very common. You sell your house, close the deal, get the money, but the contract says you get to stay in the house for another 30 to 60 days as a tenant.
So you're sitting in your old living room, but with a bank account full of cash, shopping for your next home.
Exactly. It turns you from a desperate seller into a power buyer. It bridges the gap without you ever having to move twice.
I want to take a moment and talk about the people behind this data. We've mentioned the SEER team, Vincent and Jane, but their bios they aren't your typical agents.
No. And that matters because this isn't a typical transaction. Vincent is the data guy. He built this predictive analytics model. He comes from business consulting. He's the one doing the spreadsheets we just walked through.
Yeah.
Jane brings the human element. She's an RCSD, which is a real estate collaboration specialist for divorce, and she has a military background.
That is quite the combination.
It is. But think about it. Divorce and military life have a lot in common with this process. It's about logistics, sure, but it's mostly about high emotion and huge life transitions.
She understands the complexity of disentangling a life. And that emotional piece brings us right back to the core idea, liberation. The client quotes in the source material were really telling.
Yes. Notice what they talk about. Once the move is done, they rarely talk about square footage. They talk about time. One client said, no more weekend maintenance. Another talked about traveling more.
That's the shift. That is the pivot from loss. You aren't losing a bedroom, you are gaining your Saturdays back.
And you're gaining mobility. We have to be honest about aging. A colonial with laundry in the basement and a steep driveway, that can become a prison as you get older. Moving to a community where the landscaping is done for you and the bedroom's on the first floor, that isn't giving up. That is setting yourself up to live independently for another 20 years.
That is such a powerful way to reframe it.
Well,
Okay, let's wrap this up. We've unpacked the math, the market, the mindset. What's the big takeaway for you?
for me, it goes back to their question 5. The financial window doesn't care about your emotions. Interest rates, inventory, the seasons, they move whether you're ready or not. It doesn't mean you rush. But you have to separate the math decision from the heart decision.
And for me, it's that cost of staying. We are so conditioned to calculate the cost of the move, the truck, the commission, the tax, but we almost never invoice ourselves for staying put. The aging roof, the rising taxes, the tracked equity earning zero.
It's the invisible bill you pay every single month by doing nothing.
So here's our final thought for you to chew on. Look around your living room. Think about your equity, your energy, and your time. If your equity is just sitting in the walls instead of working for you, and your energy is going toward maintaining a building instead of living your life, ask yourself, are you owning the home, or is the home owning you?
A vital question to end on.
Thanks for diving in with us. We'll catch you on the next one.